that's a networker. Who you know, there's a saying that says your network is your net worth. And so you want to make sure that you're pouring into, or connecting with people to open up doors for you. Everyone needs to have access to opportunity, and the more people that you're connected to allows for things to happen a lot quicker.
Of the Nanaya Yabua podcast. It is an honor and privilege. If you have not seen any of our shows, please check the Nanaya Yabua podcast. Today, I'm in the studio with Christoff Kyere. He is the founder and CEO of Flight Unit. Flight Unit is a premier leadership and developmental organization. It was created in 2010. As a previous sportsman, Christoff understands the mentality of winning. And so he comes to the leadership environment to support and to leadership and winning is all about. Christoff is an advocate and mentor and also an ally of several disadvantaged groups in the community. He works both here and across the world. So he is not just a Canadian. He is a world leader. Christoff, welcome to the Nanaya Wab podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here today.
Yes. And I am very happy you said yes. I am so in tune to learning a lot from you today about leadership, about Flight Unit. Now, when I saw Flight Unit, I thought of the airplane. I was going to Ghana or going to somewhere, flying. But then it wasn't a pilot, but it was something else. So today we are going to soar with Christoff, founder and CEO of Flight Unit.
Yes,
Amazing.
yes, definitely. It's a great. A lot of people ask me that question, and so when we created the name of the organization, we wanted to make a name that actually could impact people's lives. And so I always tell people, when I present to them, if you remember the name, if you forget everything I taught you, and hopefully you don't, but if you remember the name of the organization and apply it, it will benefit you significantly. So I will share that very quickly with you. So when we say flight, every individual is on their own unique journey. Okay, so everyone has dreams and goals, and so you are your pilot. You are your own pilot of your dreams and destiny. And so the quicker you own your decisions, the faster you get there. And so we always say, think big, you come big. Think small, you become small. And I think that's very important for people to understand, because a lot of times when things happen in our lives, it's very easy to point the finger at other people, right? That's not owning your decisions, right? If you own your decisions, you own what comes with it. And that way, that's how you learn from it. You feel fast. You get the lesson. You move ahead and you get to your destination. And then unit, very, very, very important. So when we say unit, the people, as an organization, one thing we say is that as individuals, we are born into our environments. So we cannot, control that. So we inherit our family and friends for the most part, right? So that being said, our the people we surround ourselves with have a huge impact on our success, failure, and most importantly, how we see the world, what we get involved with, what we don't, etc. So it's extremely important that you recognize the people who are around you. But if you really want to become successful, you want to make sure that you have people that are there to elevate you. And that's what a flight unit is, right? So we have 5 people that make up a flight unit that everyone should have in their unit. And so if you're serious about your success and growth, so a mentor, a companion, a connector, a doer, and a realist, right? These are 5 people that everyone should have. And that's what a flight unit is. So hopefully, you can remember that, or your viewers remember that. And if they can remember the name, it will serve them well.
Beautiful. Now let's go into the Flight Unit, because the term, say, mentor has been thrown around. These days, everybody is looking for a mentor. Somebody is a mentee. Um, if you can break it down for some of the viewers who are, say, not familiar with that terminology, mentor, or they've heard it, they don't really know or understand. What is that? Actually, break it down and then break out the different components of the flight, the units.
Okay. So when you look at a mentor, so a mentor doesn't necessarily have to be someone who's older than you. It just means someone that has a lot of knowledge in one area, right? So you see them as an expert per se. Someone who you feel that can ultimately, let's say, for instance, I want to become a businessman, right? If I go look for someone who has a business, they obviously are someone who can mentor me, right? Because they have experience, they have knowledge, they can pass down information that's going to allow me to grow. So I would be the mentee at that point. And as a mentee, one thing that people have to understand: everything in life is give and take, right? You can't just take and expect that, expect to actually grow, right? You want to make sure that you are providing value to anyone. So if there's someone's mentoring you, find a way to add value to that person, so that way that relationship is mutually beneficial. And so yeah, so a mentor is someone that ultimately is someone that can provide you with information, knowledge, wisdom, understanding within a certain area. And then when we look at the other components of a flight unit, a companion. We all, everyone needs a companion, right? A companion is someone who is there to elevate you, support you, encourage you, nurture you. And so a lot of times people think that a companion is someone who just says yes to everything that you want them to say yes to, and be there for you. But you need someone who ultimately is going to be there for you, support you, but as well to be able to tell you things that you need to hear in order to elevate you. And then when you look at a doer, doer is someone that you can't keep up with. There are people who have tremendous amount of experiences. They're people that they inspire you. They inspire you to do more. So for instance, like if you go to the gym, for instance, you may see someone who's doing there, or someone who is adventurous. These are people who are going to get you outside of your comfort zone. Key word is comfort zone. So we want to look for people like that. A realist, sometimes we always need to have someone in our corner that can tell us things that we need to hear in a way that's beneficial for us to understand. And when I say a realist, in terms of it's important that if anyone who's playing that role is a realist, the goal is not to kill dreams, right? The goal is to give someone a perspective or perspectives that they may not have considered in their process of what they're trying to do or accomplish, right? So things that just for them to be aware of. And then last but not least, so we said the connector. The connector was the last one. A connector. Everyone needs to have a connector. That's a networker. Who there's a saying that says your net worth is your net worth. And so you want to make sure that you're pouring into, or connecting with people to open up doors for you. Everyone needs to have access to opportunity, and the more people that you're connected to allows for things to happen a lot quicker. So connector, realist, doer, mentor, and companion, the flight unit.
That's a master class. I'm done.
Hopefully that was beneficial for everyone.
It was great. It was great. It was great. So let's come to the beginning story. I know we just jumped into it because it was too juicy not to jump into it.
You threw the bait out, yes.
But sometimes that's how it happens. So we just go with the flow and hear the story. So now let's come to your beginning story.
Okay.
Everybody has a beginning story. What is your beginning story?
Yeah, so I'm very thankful. So throughout my life, I didn't mention it as well too. When we say flight unit, there's two elements of that as well too. So you have flight, we say that's self-leadership, and then units, that's servant leadership. Steel sharpens steel. So you want to make sure that you are sharpening your environment around you, so that way you're elevating yourself, because there's days you're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days, and so you want to make sure you have people that you're pouring into your environment, so when you need it, it's pouring back into you. And so for myself, I've been very fortunate in a sense where I say it all started in grade 6. Um, so I tried out for the basketball team, and I got cut. And in life, sometimes your greatest blessings come from your greatest challenges.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got cut, and I was devastated. I was a popular kid, and so everyone knew that I didn't make the team, and so I was embarrassed. So that summer, I committed to myself that I was going to make the team next year. And so that summer, I woke up every single day, like at 7 o'clock in the morning, and I go to the basketball courts by myself. I would practice for 2-3 hours a day in the morning, and then after in the afternoon,
Mm-hmm.
I would go like back out, and when my friends were there, and so no one knew that I was practicing, twice a day, right? Or sometimes even 3 times a day, depending. No one knew, and so my growth was extremely significant. When I went back to school in grade 7, I was the only student in grade 7 that was starting on the team, right? It was so. And so I saw that was a great learning lesson for me in understanding that work ethic is extremely important, right? It over subsedes talent, 9 times out of 10. And so I started. That was the seeds of understanding. That was self leadership in terms of owning my success. I could have pointed fingers at other people, etc. But I put in the work on myself, and I was able to get the benefits. So from there, through high school, went through different trajectories in terms of experiences and whatnot. And so when I finished post secondary, I was like, I wanted to sort of figure out what I wanted to do, and basketball was something that obviously played a key role in my life in terms of just meeting new friends and whatnot. So I started doing a basketball event, and I still remember to this day. So we had the best students, basketball players across the city come and compete. And we're very fortunate. We had NBA players at the time that went out to the NBA. So like Tristan Thompson, Corey Joseph, and so forth, that played in our event. And so one thing, I remember one parent coming to me after the event and saying, "Thank you for doing this. You doing this has kept people off the streets and getting involved in things that they could have been ultimately using their time toward." And so it really was an impactful statement that stuck with me. And so I recognized that, the things that I'm doing are impacting other people's lives and creating a ripple effect. And so from there, I sort of said, I really want to take this to the next level. And so I went to the school board, the Trial District School Board, and I reached out to them. And so I told them that, I would like to sort of start doing some things to help inspire students. And so when I was, I meant to start to mention, when I was in university, one of my elementary school teachers, she would always tell me to please come back, come back. And so I started coming back, and I started coaching, and I always realized that was another significant moment. I had students that would always ask me certain questions, and they wouldn't ask the other coaches, like the teachers and whatnot. They'd ask me. And so I saw that there was a need for someone who was not yet, a full adult, but in my, development stages, that they saw that they can speak to me. The conversations were different, etc. And so I saw that need as a big brother, to be a big brother. And so when I went to the TDSB, I wanted to create something. I always said to myself, what would I need from a younger version of myself to be more successful? And so that was a question I always, and to this day, I still ask myself that question in regards to the organization. What would I need for a younger version of myself to be able to grow into, my full potential? And so we started doing career conferences at the TDSB with students, and it took off. Like, we had different people, and then that was great, was because being a Black male, representation matters. And seeing someone who looks like you, who's sounds like you, it helps you to envision yourself in roles that you may not typically see for yourself. So I was able to ultimately tap into my network and expand my network by having these career conferences, inviting different people out. I was able to learn a significant amount of information as well too about different industries, and from trades to business to transportation, we've had quite an array of different conferences and industries that we focused on. And so it gave me insight and as well to providing me an opportunity to share that information with other people who were not aware or sure of what types of career paths they were interested in. And so through doing this work, I was able to, have countless conversations with students and whatnot. I still remember to this day, I remember we did one conference and there was one student, and I guess he came from an affluent family, and he wanted to go into the trades, but his family was pushing him to go into, become a doctor or a lawyer. And he knew that wasn't his path. And, through having this conference and being able to talk to, plumbers, electricians, etc., he was able to get the information that he needed to go and speak to his parents and feel confident in regards to the path that he wanted to take on for himself. And so, him sharing that with me was, another impactful moment, right? So through these different experiences, I was just seeing how the work that we were doing as an organization was elevating people's lives and empowering them. Because, it's very easy to go down different trajectories in regards to, depression, crime, and whatever the case may be, right? So as an individual, when we talk about self-leadership, it's about getting what you need to help you make the decisions that are best for you, right? And so through that, we were able to do that. And then from there, I'm a huge proponent of self-growth. And so I consume a lot of information, like the books you have behind you. Yeah.
You haven't seen the one beside my bed.
Okay. What's the title of that one? I might have to read that one too.
Oh, I do a lot of mental health.
Okay.
Yeah, black mental health, both male and female, and a lot of self development and how do we call it? Sometimes just read black Afrofuturistic writers,
Okay. Beautiful. Beautiful. Beautiful.
some poetry.
Yeah. I'm all about it. I consume. I'm a
So,
consumer.
so because each of them have a story to tell, and each has a message within it. So I read a lot because at the end of the day, with what I do, with my background in nursing and doing this, how do I put it all together, for instance, in client care?
Hmm.
Because when you my background is also not only nursing, but I also did anthropology, social cultural
Okay.
anthropology,
Beautiful.
and medical anthropology. So I have an interest in other people's cultures,
Mm.
how their experience with health and medicine, and then how is it translated into our medicine here. So these days we have culturally relevant care or culturally responsive care. What does it mean? How do I approach it? We have trauma informed care. It's like, okay, so how do I approach it? How do I utilize it? This
Fantastic.
is not about me, Christoph.
No, but it's good. It's great. It's great information, right? Like reading is about
Yeah.
unlocking, so many different doors for ourselves. And so,
Hmm.
so thank you for sharing that. Maybe I'll definitely have to tap into you after this conversation.
And then there is also Think and Grow Rich,
Definitely, that's
the
actually,
millionaire next door.
yeah, that was probably my first book that really opened my door to self growth and well being for sure.
I,
Definitely.
yeah, they are all there,
Okay.
somewhere over there. Yes, and it's I read a wide variety so far as it interests me, and yes, I'm also a consumer of knowledge and information, and I'm always researching something.
Hmm.
I'm always researching something because my brains cannot just dull like that. I'm always researching. Wow.
Yeah, and I think just
Hmm.
even for your viewers, like one thing I tell students and just people in general, right? There's so many, there's no excuse for not reading, right? There's there's billions of topics in this world that we can ultimately find some type of interest in.
Yeah.
And so, for those who haven't found a desire to read as of yet, definitely continue to look for something that interests your mind. So that way you can really start to understand who you are, and allow yourself to really, expand.
You have mentioned the most existential question: who am I?
A very important question. Definitely. You know, um, I was listening to something the other day, and it talked about, our bodies. We're not our bodies, right? Our spirit has brought us to the different destinations that we go to, and our spirit ultimately guides our body, and not the other way around, right? And we have to start to own our full, our mind, our bodies, our spirits, because we're greater than just our physical presence. So, um, very layered.
We will not go there, because then there is the Akan concept of okra, your spirit, which is the divine embodiment of God within you, which means that you and I are definitions of God in or living in these vessels. So each human being has that kind of a okra
Hmm.
within them. I'm not going to go into that. Otherwise, actually no. We will be soaring to a different spiritual realm.
Okay, that's our slogan as the organization, the store above, right? So we
Yes.
really want to inspire people to,
Hmm.
to elevate themselves
Yeah.
consistently. So
Yeah.
yes.
That is wonderful. Oh my goodness. Oh
Did you
my
want me to
good.
continue? There's a whole
Yes.
layer. So I stopped in terms of my story, but like it's layered, right? So from there,
Hmm.
I'll do the Coles notes, or this, fast version of it. So, um, from there we're impacting students, and we started to see more need in schools in regards to what populations that needed more support. So we started creating more, as you mentioned, culturally responsive content. So in workshops and so forth. And so now there's a huge push in schools for Black student associations. And so we ultimately do have programming to support them. And so we're thankful. And the great thing is that it's culture responsive. So we're creating, conversations that our young leaders need to have to ultimately elevate them and to see themselves in a positive light, right? Because, growing up, we always learned about Canadians and so forth, but not about, any major, um, Africans, African from the African diaspora that were really outside of Martin Luther King. So yeah. From there, I was inspired. I started going back to Ghana, and so I went back in the year of the return, and so that really ignited, a different part of my soul and my spirit, and so I started going back to Ghana more consistently, and seeing the country, and obviously recognizing, like I tell people all the time, like physically, like when I went there, it's one thing to be there, but another thing for you to know that your body was actually from there. Um, because my body just started responding, so like I could sleep less and have more energy. The food, everything. So I just fell back. I fell in love, and so I just, with the country and the people and the food and everything, and so I wanted to give more of myself. And as they say, charity begins at home. And so we did a back to school drive,
Hmm.
and we were able to serve the Ashanti region. And so, we went to Kumasi, Kamawu, and a few other places. And so we were able to support, I think, we visited over 20 plus schools easily, like maybe 20, 25 schools. We were able to give quite a bit of, books, pencils, paper, resources, backpacks, quite an array of different things we're able to give to these different schools. And it really touched my heart because, you we live in a bubble in North America. And you don't, it's important that you get out of this bubble so that way you don't think this is the norm, right? And because we need to walk with gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
We need to walk with awareness. We need to be in tune, in touch with, people who need us. And so that trip ultimately gave me a greater sense of that, and not to take what I have for granted. And when you're looking at students who have to walk up in an hour easily in the hot sun each direction, and I'm talking up and down mountains and so forth. Um, and these are environments that to just go to school, it's challenging, and beyond that, these schools don't always have the proper support in regards to teachers and whatnot, and schools like portables, and you're dealing with the environment. So you definitely do, I think it's a huge opportunity for us to grow as people, to forget ourselves, because in this society, it's very easy to I don't have this, or why me. But when you look at the environment other people are living in, and their norms, and you need to really rebalance, and just sort of adjust how you see and operate in the world. So yeah, that, and then we have some other initiatives that we've done, but yeah, but that's a general story or journey of so far to date.
you you answered all my questions on giving in Ghana. I didn't ask, but it's answered. That is wonderful, and you've answered the experiential part. Now let's talk about, you did a giving. You and I were speaking behind before we came on about leadership, student leadership in Ghana. How was your experience of it? Whether it was present, it wasn't present, some of the things as per what you observed and experienced could be done and could be done better.
So leadership is something that I'm really passionate about. I say leadership is the gift that keeps on giving. And I think within our community, there's a lack of leadership, and a significant lack of leadership, right? And so when I say that, because I played sports as well too, right? So when you play sports, you have an understanding of leadership. And I play different sports, and so I see it consistently. And so when you're talking about leadership, I'll give it to you in a sports um, mindset. So I play tennis as well too, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you play against people, you see their mindset, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like to say, for instance, we play a point and I win. The next point, you're gonna see what that person's made of, because their body language is gonna tell you something. Are they willing to go after every single point, even though it may be they can give up and just go for the next point. Like, you see these things. And so leadership is really preparing your mind to do what is required for you to ultimately win, right? And winning is a different conversation altogether, how you define winning. But a lot of times people are not preparing their minds to win, right? And so I'll say, if for instance, if I know, for instance, in order for me to get in shape, I have to be willing to work out 2 months without seeing any type of results, right? I have to prepare my mind for that, right? That's a winning mindset. So I won't be stepping on the scale. I won't be looking at, even if I look at myself in the mirror, I'm not going to be upset if I don't see anything within that first 2 months, right? Because I put in my mind that I need to put in at least 2 months in before I'm going to see any type of results. I feel that when you look at our community, there's a lack of that understanding in terms of leadership mindset. Are we preparing our minds for success or failure? Um, you know, we see it in regards to our inability to collaborate on a consistent basis. Our inability to realistically serve each other. We have to ultimately have a leadership mindset in regards to what do we have to think and envision for ourselves to see success. Um, our emotions are very tricky, because our emotions ultimately give us energy, strength. Like you get that fire from your emotions, but in the same breath, they could be our biggest downfall, because our emotions can trick us to, seeing things, being sensitive or overly sensitive, I should say, and not allowing our mind to actually be the driver, right? And so I'm a huge fan of, of leadership. There's so many layers of it, components. You're looking at communication, critical thinking, collaboration. Like, there's just so many elements of it. But to sum it up, it's really about elevating your mind to operate in a way that will allow you to be successful.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I was going through your website and I was looking at some of the testimonials because some of your clients are Toronto District School Board and Peel, is it Dufferin Peel School Board, and I think York
Yeah,
Region
yeah, those are our partners. But we work with several
partners.
different school boards.
Yes.
Those are the ones that we have formal partnerships with.
Yes. So for viewers who are not aware of Flight Unit, Christoff, you've had over 200 plus workshops that you've developed, and about 30,000 students have been impacted, and 80 plus schools. That is a lot.
Mhm. Thank you, thank you. It's been we're coming on 15 years, so it's been a journey, and we're looking forward to the next process, or the next phase. And like any journey, no road, like the road is not always the same, right? And so you have to prepare yourself for a different terrain as you go through your journey. So we give thanks.
This leads me to my next question. What are some of the challenges you faced and some of the successes? If you can talk about that a little bit.
Well, thank you for that question. It's a great question. When you look at challenges are always going to be present, and challenges are there to make you sharper and make you refine yourself in a way that a knife can cut anything with it's sharp, and it's thin, right? And that, as people, as entrepreneurs, you always have to have that mindset. You need to be refining yourself. So starting off, and you definitely have to be, the landscape is different. And if you're going to be going for grants, if you're going to have a service, whatever you're going to do in terms of, you have to understand your revenue streams. And so starting off, that was obviously a challenge in regards to understanding how we're going to develop revenue, and to be able to be able to provide services and whatnot. And so that's been very fruitful, because like I said, I had to refine who we are, and it changes. Like I said, the journeys is always different. Like you're looking at pre-COVID, COVID, post-COVID. It created a whole new, all different dynamics in terms of readjusting, reshaping, in terms of our programming and services. And so, but you're thankful, right? You're thankful because it shows you that the mindset of any entrepreneur, so anyone who's trying to get to business, you have to have a mindset that you're unstoppable, and you have to have a mindset that you're going to succeed. What, from a leadership perspective, I always say there's always more solutions than there are problems, right? And as soon as you embrace that, you unlock something inside your mind, and it allows you to look for things.
Hold on, repeat that again. There are more solutions.
Then there are problems. There's
Mm,
always more solutions than there are problems.
mm. That is a good one.
Yeah.
I'll borrow that.
Okay. Yeah. So it's important. That's a leadership quote that
Mm-hmm.
that I believe in, and so I tell people all the time, like once you think that way, right? When we're talking about building the right mindset, a leadership mindset, it's about unlocking how you think, right? And so as soon as you think that way, you're always open to looking for that extra solution, right? You're not going to get caught up in the roadblocks that are in front of you. Yeah. So yeah, so that I would say definitely, like you have to go through the rain to know that don't necessarily need an umbrella to get through it, right? You just need to have the mindset that the storm's gonna end sooner or later, right?
And that you are not salt, you'll not melt.
Yes, 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 yes. No one's melting here. You might get a shower, but you're not gonna melt. You know.
You're not going to melt. That is so beautiful. That is so beautiful.
Yeah, and then in terms
So,
of like you in terms of some of the victories, I mentioned earlier your network is your net worth. Um,
mhm,
when you're doing quality work, you're gonna meet great people. People are gonna see you, and been very fortunate enough to be able to connect with all types of people. For me, it's beautiful when you are able to be recognized for the work you're doing.
mhm,
It's beautiful to be able to be in conversations and networks that you never envisioned yourself being a part of, and as well to just being recognized as someone who's very knowledgeable. People coming to you for advice, and not just anyone off the road. Like I'm talking people who are established in different leadership positions, and
mhm.
ultimately value your input. And so these are things that definitely if that's something that you subscribe to, they come along. There's a lot of like indirect victories. There's things that obviously you want for yourself. For me, I'm very adventurous. Have an active bucket list. I was very fortunate enough. I was able to go to Nova Scotia just recently and go whale watching. And so for me, having the ability to sort of check off those things off my bucket list is massive for me. um, but yeah, like so, there's direct victories, and then there's a lot of indirect victories that people come up to you and say, "Hey, I've heard of your organization. You're doing great work, etc." Those are always ads, when you're committed to being your best version of yourself and providing an elite service. So,
Well, for me, when you said yes, it's like he said yes. It's like, oh wow, okay. Didn't go back and forth. It's like hallelujah, amen.
oh yeah, no, definitely, definitely.
I didn't even ask the question. Why did you say yes? What motivated you?
For me, I think in terms of just being like network, right? It's about
Mhm,
opening doors. Opening doors for yourself, opening doors for, you never know what is going to come from anything. Like, I've done a lot of different things throughout my life. And, God is ultimately there to, work. I always say God or the universe, whatever you subscribe to, needs people who are ultimately that could be used, right? And the more that you are accessible for God or the universe to use you, the more that the God or the universe can work through you, right? And so that's what it's about for me. We're all here for a short time, and I always say that I want to make sure that I'm doing enough that when my time comes, that when I knock on the door, I'm let in.
I think this brings me to I think how do we call it? Brene is no, it's not Brene Brown. It's a different author who was a palliative care nurse and realized that many of her clients always had a thing regrets, the five regrets of the dying, of what they didn't do and on their deathbed they had wanted to do. So aside from myself doing visitor nursing and also collecting my stories, and I remember clearly this older gentleman, I have a bucket list as well, and he just told me, just do it,
Hmm.
just do it. At the end all you have is your memories. So
Amen.
just Bernadette, just go and do it. So when I heard it's like, okay, you're speaking a language I understand. I love that. I love that. Keep it up. Ah, guys, you have been listening to the Nana Yayabua with Christoff Kyere, right? But
Yes.
so if you're wondering Christoph's background, Christoph is Ghanaian. Parents Ghanaian, born in Canada. Mebwa. Ghanaian Canadian, whatever you decide to call it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, um, Before we say goodbye to Christoff, Christoff is going to break it down for student leaders. I know there are certain habits that you are highly encourage them to have. If you can give us two or three of those, habits that student leaders or even us, our parents, and everybody can benefit from.
Yeah, no. So we serve student, staff, and parents. So we serve at all ages, like in terms of leadership. Leadership is something that everyone needs to have access to.
Mhm.
So first, I would say definitely if we're gonna just be I guess three off the top of my head, I'd probably say firstly you want to make sure that your thoughts are that you're really intentional with your thoughts because it's very easy when you look at a garden. I always use the analogy of a garden. Um, there are weeds that grow in gardens, and that's why you have gardeners. And it's important that the gardeners come and pull out the weeds because if not, they'll overrun the garden. And it's the same thing with our minds. We have a lot of thoughts throughout the day, and the majority of people are they say the average person has 80% of their thoughts are negative, right? So it's important that we are very intentional and I'd say aware of the thoughts that we're having consistently so that way we can make sure we can make those adjustments as well too. I would say in terms of like your network, like the people around you, your circle, be intentional. Like as a person you're here for a special reason. Your voice matters. Believe in your voice. And so if things aren't right around you, don't close your mouth and act like you didn't see anything, right? There's a ripple effect that comes from that. So either if you're using your voice or you're not, be proactive in regards to ensuring that you are, that God is using you to bring about positive change, and it's going to benefit you, right? There's a ripple effect for you, being involved in your community, your household, your school community, wherever it is. Like you're needed, and so own that you are special, and no one can actually bring about the positive ripple effect that you can bring about. So I would say that is number two. And for the last one, I would say positive energy. Surround yourself with positive people. I know sometimes,
Mhm.
we love the people who we're around. But, I was actually watching something today around Oprah, and Oprah was saying that if you have anyone around you who has an ounce of jealousy towards you, you need to cut them. I went to a conference, and
Mhm.
the gentleman who was speaking, he said, you need to, when you look at everyone in your life, you need to put them in categories A, B, C, D, right? And you got to be very bold when you do this. And after you put them in the different categories, and understand, like, people bring different benefits. Not everyone's benefit doesn't look the same, right? So, but you want to put them in different categories, A, B, C, D. He said after you do that, he said anyone who is is a C and down, cut them out of your life. You only need to have A and B people around you, and so be intentional. You only have one life to live. Your decisions actually count; they matter. Sometimes I think we feel that we're just on autopilot and it's going to get us there. But you need to be proactive in regards to ensuring that you're creating, you know, the success and the environment that you ultimately want to manifest, right? You just can't expect to manifest and see it there. You got to be an active player in regards to moving the pieces so that way that vision comes to life.
And on that note, I am not adding a single thing to it. Christoph, thank you so much for agreeing to have this critical conversation with us. And I do believe my audience, both here and on the continent, will are very much appreciative of this conversation because it's one that needs to be had. Self leadership. At least I have learned about self leadership, being intentional and aware, the networking, and also having positive energy and knowing that your voice matters. Christoff has shared with us his story of what he does on Flight Unit, and this is where most of our learning is. The stories we hear are meant to transform us, to inspire us, and to impact us positively. Christoff, thank you so much for saying yes and for coming on to the Nana Yayabua podcast.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me, and definitely, continue to do the amazing work. And God bless you. And definitely, we hope that your viewers and audience ultimately are using the words to actually bring about the change that we need to see in this world. So, Splice Original.